Welcome back. My name is Coach Iesha, and I wanted to explain a little bit like, who are you? Like, anybody who just came upon this is like, who is this big head chick with this wig on talking to us right now? So, I wanted to explain just a little bit about who am I? Like, girl, who is you? Well, again, my name is Coach Iesha. No, I'm not an athletic coach. I am a personal development coach. And that is along the lines of helping people to where they are and helping them navigate them to where they want to be. So there are different type of coaches. There are spiritual coaches. There are emotional coaches, mindset coaches, business coaches. Um, I'm a person who helps individuals with that have been sexually abused. So I'm an emotional trauma coach, and the reason why I am in that specific field, I went through it myself. Um, Not many people can come to someone who has had that type of experience and not live that life and tell someone how to manage or get through it. Let's just be honest, right? So, um, a little bit about that is just, you know, everybody has a story, right? Everybody has a story. Everybody has something that they've been through, something that they don't normally want to speak or say out loud because they don't want to go through the shame. They don't want to go through the ridicule. They don't want to go through the judgment. They don't want to go through the embarrassment. And they are just tired of repeating it. Some people are just so tired of repeating it in their head that they don't want to go through the motions of saying it out loud. That they have been raped, they have been molested, that they have had date rape. It almost brings about a stigma. Not almost, it does. We live in a society where it's stigmatized for women to say that these experiences, and men, that these experiences have happened to them. And especially with women, it's almost as if, so what did you do to cause it? Did you lead him on? Did you wear something enticing um, to provoke his sexual awakening, whatever people want to put it? Um, None of those things matter. I think that you can wear a hijab, and as we have seen with Muslim sisters, they go through rape and sexual molestation too, and they're completely covered. Um, these are just things that women go through in order to keep their mouths shut and not express what they have gone through. So I'm here to share my story so that if anyone else has gone through it, they can share their story. And I know we live in an era of a Me Too movement where women are coming more and more comfortable with sharing their experiences. However, there are way more individuals, way more women that are still closeted by their experiences. And they're still living in that cycle of trauma and victimhood and have not gotten to the position of becoming an overcomer and a survivor yet. I believe that it's only two positions when we have gone through this type of situation. Either you're still a victim or you are a survivor. And a lot of women, unfortunately, stay in the realm of victim for a long time. And it takes them a lot. It takes a lot of strength, a lot of courage, and a lot of support to be able to come to the other side and navigate and become a survivor. Do you completely get over it? No. It's something that happened. It's not as if it's once you become a survivor, it's like, okay, it never happened. No, that's never the case. Um, However, when you become a survivor, you take the power away from the person who victimized you, and you realize just how much power that you really hold, how much strength you really have, the authority that rests on the inside of you. That becomes more aware to you. That becomes more prevalent in your mind that becomes a stronghold in your heart, that you have authority, you have power, and you have strength. And these things are not, they're not removed once you have been violated. You still have them. It's just been suppressed. And so my role as a coach is to unsuppress what you already have, to bring that out, and to have you to realize you hold the cards. You are much more braver than you imagine. You are not dying a slow death in a reoccurring role in a expired movie. You you hold weight, you hold power. Your voice is magnificent. Your gifts are still there. And so a lot of times when women have gone through these type of traumatic cycles, it affects every part of our lives, our relationships with people, basic friendships, um, dynamics at the job, on the marketplace, with our children, in the church, everywhere. It affects every dynamic of our lives because we're still pigeonholed to a specific time and place in our lives, whereas it's as if our lives have been put on pause when this happens. And life still goes on, and we're going through the motions as life goes on, but we're stuck in a specific time. And so my story is this, just to help. If I can share mine, then hopefully that will give others the power, the courage, the strength to be able to share theirs as well, knowing that you're not alone. You're definitely not alone. Um, you have support. If no one else in your circle believes you, because that's another issue that women that have gone through these situations have had, issues with people believing them. If no one believes them, if you are stuck in a mode of silence, whereas you haven't even began to share it, and it's just internalizing and becoming a cancer, I want to let you know that you have someone to share it with. You can share it with me. There's crisis. If you don't feel comfortable talking to, this random person who just came across your screen, then you can speak with someone in crisis centers. There are all types of ways and methods and modes, especially at places near you. Specifically, if you want to go to someone in your region, and there's also virtual methods, such as myself. I do virtual coaching so that someone doesn't have to leave their house. They can just come from their phone to me, and we can do live virtual coaching together. There's different methods and ways to whereas you don't have to stay in silence, like, at all. You can convey everything that's going on and just get that out. Once we start talking about it, we can navigate solutions to whereas we can move on and move past. Because once we're stuck in the past, we're stuck in a time frame. But we need to move past and understand that whoever did this, whatever reason that they did it, that's gone. It's gone, and we can't recoup that time. But the time that we do have, we can make it better for ourselves. And this person can no longer have to live rent free in our minds. We can have liberation from the recurring thoughts and memories. We can be delivered from the trauma. So my story is this. When I was 6 years old, I was sexually molested. And I was sexually molested by a family member who I had just met that day. And he came out of jail, actually, on that day. He was just released from jail that day from a prior conviction of child molestation. And when he was released, one of the places that he went to different family members, letting them know, hey, I'm out, I'm good, I'm all right. And he went to different family members, and one of the family members that he came to visit just happens to be my grandmother's house. And I love my grandmother. My grandmother, it is no fault of her own. She was just minding her business at home, in her own house, watching after her grandchild, and I was in the home with my grandmother, and I was just playing, minding my business. I was 6, in my Barbie nightgown, just chilling with my grandmother. And a knock came at the door. He was at the door. She let him in, and she happened to be on the phone. She was on a very important phone call, and so she was like, "Give me a few minutes. I'll come out and I'll talk to you," you know. And I went into I was playing in her living room, and he came in and he sat down on the couch in her living room, and um, he said like, "Hi, I'm your cousin," and I'm 6. I'm like, "Okay, hi," and he told me to come here, and I came over to the couch because I'm 6 and I'm naive. I did as an adult would tell me to do, and I came over to the couch, and he lifted up my nightgown and started touching on me and touching on my lower extremities, and he asked me to go to the bathroom and remove my underwear. And at this point, I was pretty frozen because I didn't understand what was going on, but I felt like it was completely wrong. And I shook my head no. I didn't even say anything because I didn't even have a voice. I just shook my head no. And he said, "Okay, lay down." And I lay down on the couch, and he persisted to touch on my lower extremities, my backside. And when my grandmother got off the phone, he told me get up and finish playing. And I did. And they went about talking, and he talked to my grandmother as if nothing ever happened. He ended up leaving, and he was on his way to my cousin's house. And my cousin was 1 year older than me. She was 7, and he was on his way to her house. And my mother came and got me from work and stuff like that, and nobody knew anything had transpired. And I went home, and I wasn't going to say anything. My mother called me and was like, "Oh, so-and-so is home, and he's on his way to your cousin's house." And that's when I found out that he was on his way to my cousin's house. And everything on the inside of me was like, no. Okay, this happened. I don't know what happened. It's wrong. But I'm going to tell my mom now because I don't want this to happen to her. And at 6 years old, that's exactly my thought. I said, this can't happen to her. And that's the only reason why I spoke up. Because at that point I was so ashamed, and it just felt so horrible. I didn't even want to tell my mother. I just wanted to go to sleep, and I didn't know what I did wrong. I didn't know what made him do that. I didn't understand what brought that on. I was such a young, naive child that I didn't understand. And I told my mom. I told my mother, and my father came out from, I believe he was in the kitchen. He came in and he was like, "What happened?" And so I told my parents. They called the police. And they called the police. My grandmother was furious because it happened under her watch, and she was highly upset. My grandmother was highly upset. She and a couple of people combed the streets looking for this man because he ended up not going to my cousin's house. His plane got diverted. I guess some along the lines he kind of heard that he had told on. And the police was looking for him. So he didn't make it to my cousin's house. And he went about his way. And when he went about his way, he ended up being caught the next day. He ended up being arrested the next day. And they charged him with child sexual molestation. And they charged him. And I remember going to court several times. I had to testify, but not in front of him. I testified in front of a judge. And at 6 years old, I'm having to testify and recant what transpired. And it was hard, and I just didn't understand what was going on. And my mother, thank God for her, she was just trying to make everything normal, back to normal for me. She just didn't want me to it's not even that she didn't want me to understand what was going on. She didn't want that to rock my my little orbit, my little 6 year old orbit, more than what more than it was already rocked. So my mother just tried to normalize everything for me. And at that time, and this happened in the early 90s, um, at that time, counseling was not a big thing. You just didn't go to counseling at that, especially in the black community. Let's be transparent. Um, there's people right now in the black community that don't believe in counseling. So it's that's like a generational curse that still exists to this day about fears of talking to somebody else about your issues, which we should really negate, because mental health is a very serious thing. If you go to the gym to work out your body because you're high in cholesterol, or you're overweight, then you should go to someone that can help work out your mind if you know that you don't have the capacity to do that yourself. Your mind is everywhere that is not supposed to be. You live in a realm of distraction or in the realm of trauma. And that's what a counselor, that is what a therapist, psychiatrist, a coach. These are all avenues that will help you get back to your path. Your path. That's what our purpose is, to work with you to get back to your path so that you can flourish and live in a life of abundance without being in a prison in your own head. And so there was no counseling for me when I was little. And but she tried to make things as normal for me in my life, and for the most part I did. I lived a pretty normal life, this, in spite of what transpired. I was in church a lot. As a kid, I was in church. I played sports. I went to school and had friends and things like that. I really didn't understand how it affected my life until I got older. And me trying to interact with individuals, especially of the opposite sex, it was hard. It was so hard. My relationships never lasted. Um, when I finally became old enough, my relationships never lasted long. I think the longest relationship I had at that point before I got help was about a year, and that was in a bad relationship too. Um, I will say the men that I was involved with, they were not bad men. They just were not good for me. And so when you are linked up with someone who is not, that doesn't fit well, no matter how much you try to make it fit, an illegitimate puzzle piece will not fit into a space that it's not meant for. So these people can be good, but still not good for you. And those were the type of individuals that I was connected to. Um, and my relationships never lasted. And I had friendships, but I didn't have friends. I thought I did, but I didn't, because I was isolated. I did not open up to people. I find it very hard to communicate with others, especially expressing who I am and what I even just to say what I liked was very hard. Making those meaningful transformational connections evaded me. I could not do that at all. And so it took me to get linked up with a coach and to go to counseling and to bring my life back to God, first and foremost, back to God, so that I could be delivered from these traumas, from these things. Because not only did that affect my life, it was the catalyst and a domino effect of everything else that affected my life. This was the seed, and everything else was nothing but roots that came from that seed of dysfunction that started off in this one spot when I was 6. And I remember going to counseling, and I was diagnosed with anxiety. And as you can kind of understand, when someone who goes through sexual assault of any kind, they have issues with fear. They have issues with trust. They have paranoia issues because you don't know when this is going to happen again, why this happened, what the thought process that made the person do this to you in the first place. It all is just hard to grasp, quite frankly. And so I went through some periods of depression. I went through some periods of anxiety, extreme anxiety and fear, to whereas talking was very difficult. I stayed in my home a lot, especially in my bedroom, to the point that going outside felt strange. Feeling the sunlight. I remember one time going outside and opening up the door just to get the mail, and the sun hitting my face and feeling like, oh, it was so strange. It was so strange. Doing things on my own was just like not unheard of. I had to wait until somebody else would come along and help me to go do something. Like if somebody else wasn't going to the store, I wasn't going to the store. 'Cause my God, I wasn't just going to go by myself. I just wasn't going to do things on my own. I was handicapped, personally handicapped, and in this dungeon of fear, in this cycle, this hamster wheel of just destruction and just rejection. And it was just, I felt so alone. Even though I was surrounded by people, I felt so alone because even though I had family and they loved me, I still was stuck in this place of, but why? I don't understand. This hurts. I don't I can't really explain this to someone who don't understand. They don't understand this pain. Um, they understand pain, but they don't understand this pain. And so it was so hard for me for so long to even come out of that place. But I thank God that He placed individuals into my life that brought me past my fears, brought me past my intrepidations, brought me past my closed mind, brought me past my prison, and introduced me to freedom, true freedom, true freedom. That this person who did this to me couldn't take this away from me, that no one else can put a label and define it for me. It was freedom that was personally constructed and manifested for me with my name on it. It was my freedom. And I can't even tell you how much of a transformation of my life pre-liberation to now post-liberation. And my encouragement to someone else that is listening is, you can be free too. There's no reason why you have to live a life that is mediocre, that is subpar, that is beneath your potential, your gifting, your anointing, your calling, your purpose. There's no reason why you should live under the radar. There's no reason why you should live beneath the standard for your life. And I say this to say that I know that the road is difficult. I know that the road is hard. I know what it's like to be in that place of bondage, in self-imprisonment, though you didn't place yourself in that prison. I know what that's like because I lived it. And I know the pain because I felt it. And I know how hard it is to communicate it because I lived a life with mouth closed, shut. I know what that's like. And you don't have to go through that. You don't have to keep experiencing that. There is another side. There is another life. The way that you see other people living a life that perceives to be free, you can have an authentic freedom that is custom made, tailor made, just just yours, with your name on it, your own freedom. That is available to you. That is yours. But we do, at some point, have to want it. We can't say that this is for everybody else and not for us. We have power in our mouths. What we speak, we see. So if we say, even if we don't feel it, it took so long for my words to match up with my feelings, y'all. It really did, for so long. If you speak to yourself, what, even if you don't feel it, you will eventually, your words will line up with here, because the battle is in your mind. And so we have to now take control and bring our thoughts captive. We have to bring them captive. So if there's any wrong thought, anything going in your mind that says what you are not, we need to bring those thoughts down. If there is a thought that says, I am not strong, I want you to tell yourself that I am strong. If there's a thought that goes in your head that you're weak, you're nothing, you're beneath, everything you do fails, everything that you touch always falls through your hands, you don't have what you're supposed to have, you will never be that wife, you will never have that husband, you'll never find a good man, everything that you do is your fault. If you have those type of thoughts that are blaming, accusing, belittling, condemning, sweetie, those are not thoughts of yours. Those are not thoughts of God. Those are not thoughts that you should accept, quite frankly. Those are not thoughts that you should accept. Those are all lies. Those are all lies. And they're from the pit of hell. And we're not taking it no more. We're going to take our thoughts captive and speak only what God says about us. I am above and never beneath. I am a child of the Most High God. I am a daughter of the King. Whatever belongs to my daddy belongs to me. I have God within me. With him within me, I cannot fail. I am strong. I am with courage. I am intelligent. I am emotionally sound. I am lovable and I am loved. Speak those things into your life daily. Even if you have to go into the mirror and talk those things to yourself, speak those things into your life. Even if you don't feel it, your words will match up with your mind. Here's a secret that I didn't know at one time that someone had to tell me about. Your brain doesn't know the difference between the truth and a lie. It doesn't. That's not the purpose for your brain. The purpose for your brain is for fight or flight, fear and safety. That's the purpose for the brain. So if you tell your brain a lie to your mind, if you say it enough, it'll become the truth. If you tell your brain the truth, it will compute. It will adjust. It will transform. So we have to renew our minds to what the truth is. And we got to take those untruths and we got to throw them in the trash. Because they don't belong in your head. They don't belong in your mouth. It don't belong in your ears. Speak out loud who you really are. Let yourself hear the truth so that your mind can recalibrate. Because your future self is waiting on you, and your right now, your inner being misses you. I had to come to realize how much my inner being, even though I haven't met her since I was 6, missed me. Your inner being misses you. It's time to get caught up with yourself. It's time to get reacquainted with who you are. It's time to reintroduce you. I hope what I spoke today blessed someone. I hope that can help someone come out of the shell that doesn't fit them. I pray that if you are struggling at any point with those things that come with being a sexual, a sexual assault um, victim, that you would reach out and receive the help that you need. I'm not saying that I am everybody's coach, but I am somebody's coach. I am a lot of people's coach. And I know that if there's something that I said today that resonate with you, that I could be your coach. And I would love for you to get off the bench and to get back into the game of life. More importantly, the game of self, the game of winning. Because there's nothing about you that's a failure. Who did that to you failed when they didn't realize who they was messing with. You have so much on the inside of you. And it's time for you to get to know that. It's time for you to rise and shine, honey. The new day has come. And it's time for you to stand on your platform, because you, honey, are a star. I hope that this blessed everyone today. Please get in contact with me if you're interested in coaching. I am available. I have about 3 or 4 slots available, and I would love to get to know you, and I would love to see how my services and expertise can serve you, because I am here to be of service. God bless you all. Again, my name is Coach Iesha. Have a wonderful day.